Now, the US ambassador to South Africa has accused the country of supplying weapons to Russia, despite its professed neutrality in the war in Ukraine. The US claims the Admiral Gorshkov warship, seen here in Cape Town in February, was loaded with ammunition and arms in Cape Town at the end of last year. Well, let's speak to our correspondent Shingai Nyoka, who's in Johannesburg for us. Shingai, thanks for joining us. These allegations relate to a shipment in December. So why are we hearing about them now? Any idea?
Well, that's one of the key questions that many people are asking at the moment, Mark, especially following that there was a recent visit to the US by a high-level South African delegation which visited Washington. And at that meeting, apparently this issue of this ship that had docked off the coast of Cape Town in December had been brought up by the US officials. And South Africa says that they gave assurances there that the matter was being looked into. So they certainly seem to have been caught off guard by this very public announcement that was made by the US ambassador yesterday at a local press conference. It's created a chilling of relations, certainly at a local level, between authorities here and the office of the ambassador, and them asking questions about why he would go about this outside of known diplomatic channels.
That's very interesting. So they actually had a chance to discuss it all face to face, and the Americans have come out with their conclusion and publicly now. This announcement has hurt the South African economy, though, hasn't it? Because I guess South Africans are afraid that America may punish them by taking economic action. I guess people will also be looking to find out if there's going to be any more evidence produced.
Well, what it has done so far, Mark, is it certainly has not helped. The rand was already struggling in the last week or so because of current ongoing power cuts in the country that have also impacted the economy. And so there was some sort of reaction also after that announcement from the rand. So it certainly is coming at the worst possible time for South Africans. But the one thing that people are saying outside of the group that believe what has been presented is that the US needs to present hard evidence. They've suggested that this wouldn't be the first time that the US has acted on bad intelligence, mentioning, of course, that invasion of Iraq a few decades ago, where there was information of weapons of mass destruction. They're saying this time around they would want concrete evidence before any decisions are taken on what should be done with this intelligence, and also what should happen to South Africa should it be found that they actively supplied those weapons to Russia to fight in that war with Ukraine.
And of course, there is a strong relationship between South Africa and Russia, separate from all of this, whether it's exporting food or capital equipment or South African companies investing billions in Russia itself.
Certainly, but there's also been a lot said, Mark, about the fact that that's actually negligible. In terms of dollar amounts, the US and Europe contribute far more to South Africa's economy than Russia contributes and conducts trade with South Africa. There's largely a belief that it's more historic than anything, a hang-up, if you will, from the days of the fight against apartheid, where members of the African National Congress were allowed to take refuge and get training in Russia, in Moscow, and it's a relationship that they've held very deeply and closely over the years. But on the ground, in terms of trade and in terms of alignment on policy issues, certainly on an international scale, South Africa seems to have more in common with the West than it does with Russia.
OK, one likely to develop. We'll keep across those developments with you. Shingai Nyoka, thank you so much for all that.